Good morning, friends. My name is Ramsey Bergeron, and I'm honored to be your MC for Sojourner Center's Together We Thrive virtual fundraising event. Welcome to this first-time experience, and thank you for sharing two of your most valuable resources with us, your time and your attention. I am an actor, Ironman, personal trainer, life coach, travel guide, but more importantly, I'm a person who has a very personal connection to the mission of Sojourner Center. As a child, I was trapped in an abusive home between an out-of-control father and a mother who didn't feel like she had the resources to remove my brother and I from the situation. I'm here today to help others who feel trapped know that there's hope. Before we officially begin, though, I'd like to share some details about the mechanics of today's event. This is our first year coming to you remotely, and this is live, so thank you in advance for any glitches we may experience along the way. Those of us here in the room are maintaining social distancing, and each is wearing a mask except for when we're up here on camera. Please note that we scheduled an hour and a half for the event, but in true Sojourner Center fashion, we're going to work to keep this as close to an hour as possible. Let's also quickly point out some of the navigations on the screen you see around you. Above and to the right, you're going to see Event Program, and that's going to take you to the program guide for the event, which will give you information about our event sponsors, the lineup, and a donation form, and so forth. If you haven't already, at the conclusion of our event, please take a moment to share some of your contact information with us on the RSVP tab. We'd very much like to keep you apprised of what's happening here at the Sojourner Center in the future, and your email address will help us stay connected. Rest assured, your email address will be kept confidential and will only be used by the Sojourner Center. Use the rightmost tab, Help, to send us an email if you have any challenges with today's video stream. The email box is monitored regularly, and we'll be back with you as soon as we possibly can. Our first speaker today is not only the Executive Director of Sojourner Center, she's the first Executive Director to begin her role during a global pandemic. Needless to say, Cindy is always up for a challenge. It is my pleasure to introduce Cindy Kenville.
Thank you, Ramsey. Good morning to you all, and thank you for joining us today. I am Cindy Kenville, the Executive Director at Sojourner Center. Right now, as we join for this informative and inspiring time together, there are 229 women and their children and 10 family pets participating in Sojourner Center's programs. If you'd asked me a year ago where I'd be standing today in the midst of so many historic events, I would have laughed and thought none of these things could be happening simultaneously. And yet, here we are, still reeling and waiting for this pandemic to end, observing all of the challenges and strifes happening in our world, even in our own community. It is a time that seems to call for us to focus on uncertainty and fear. It's a time that draws attention to the differences and contrasts. But if there is one powerful and profound lesson I've learned about Sojourner Center and all about you, the community who supports us, is that we truly thrive when we work together. Together we move through the challenges and obstacles and beyond the naysayers and the doubters. We focus certainty and hope, similarities and connections. As a matter of fact, right now, if you could peer into the handiwork while we're all sitting here, you'd see a mother and her children arriving for the first time to shop at our Donation and Resource Center for items to start their lives over, choosing items either donated or purchased just for them by you. And that's not all you've provided. During their journey at Sojourner Center, her children can be enrolled in a Quality First Child Development Center on campus to educate and nurture them because they also faced abuse, and children make up more than 50% of our population. When the family's ready to move forward, we're able to provide transitional apartments, giving families another 2 years of support. These families are, perhaps for the first time, able to think about the direction they want their lives to go, now that they are safe at Sojourner Center, safe with access to new clothes and toiletries, safe with comfy beds to sleep in, safe to move freely about the Sojourner Center, their temporary home, safe to share their fears, their cares, and their hopes, safe at last to heal, dream, and plan. You did that for them, and because of you, they have a strong chance at success in their lives without violence. Today, we're asking you to do it again, to join us together so the families we serve can move from being survivors to thrivers. As we didn't know what the previous year had in store for us, we also don't know what 2021 will bring. What we hope is that it will bring Bring others by inviting them to one of our regularly scheduled tours. Introduce other friends, other coworkers, other family members and associates. The more that know about Sojourner and our work, the more effectively we'll overcome the impact of domestic violence together. Thank you for your time and attention and for your support. So please stay tuned for a video message from Crest Insurance, our signature sponsor for this event.
When it comes to insurance, we don't focus on the competition, we focus on our customers. At Crest Insurance Group, customer service is not what we do, but who we are. Now more than ever, businesses and families are turning to knowledgeable partners to help provide them with the insurance coverages they need. We've worked hard to become one of the country's top independent agencies, and our clients benefit from our vision, experience, and outstanding service. Contact Crest and let our insurance professionals tell you what they see. You'll be glad you did.
Thank you, Cindy, for your inspiring words, and Crest Insurance Group for your generous sponsorship. For many of you who've been involved with the Sojourner Center, this next gentleman needs no introduction. But for those of you who don't know him, please welcome Stuart Lazar.
I've been blessed to be involved with Sojourner Center for 29 years. Last year was a meaningful year for me. I retired after a successful 50-year business career, and although I know I don't look it, I celebrated my 70th birthday. I chose to hold the celebration here at Sojourner Center. This particular building holds a special place in my heart. It was here in October of 2010, during a program commemorating Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that my birthday, October 21st, was declared Stuart Lazar Day. Two other special individuals, Elaine Waxman and Ward Simpson, were honored that night as well, also having days designated in their names for their unselfish contributions to Sojourner Center. Then almost 1 year ago today, while I was celebrating my 70th in front of my wife Chu, our kids, our grandchildren, family and friends, Gordon Sims, Director of Philanthropy, asked if he could say a few words. After some niceties, Gordon announced that Sojourner Center was establishing the Stuart Lazar Lifetime Ambassador Award. I truly understood the meaning of humble that night. Today we honor another ambassador for Sojourner. He has been a tireless voice and advocate for the work of Sojourner Center and the families we serve. He sat on the board for many years and was a permanent fixture for the many construction committees we've had over the years. From the construction of this campus, the creation of the renovation of the Hope campus, to influencing his industry network and friends to contribute to renovate the duplex which now serves victims of domestic violence who've received traumatic brain injury as a result. His hands have been in nearly every major project at Sojourner over the past 3 decades. It is indeed my honor to present and to a friend, Ward Simpson, with the Stuart Lazar Lifetime Ambassador Award. Pandemically speaking. Here, Ward. Thank you.
Stuart, thank you very much. As I thought about this, this is particularly humbling because of all the incredible people that I have seen that work here at campus, the story of the women and children, those who've donated their time. It's truly inspiring. As an architect over the past 47 years, I've got to work on a lot of tremendous projects, but this is my favorite. Because when I come here, I can see the results of how it helps women and children's lives. And I think for those of you who are new to watching this program, really would encourage you to, as safe as possible, tour or do it virtually, but find out more about what goes on, because this is one of the places that you can just actually see the results and how positive it is. I think it's also important that I would like to recognize the staff. I mean, this is very nice for me, but when you see how hard the staff works and what they do to pull off to help these women and children, these are incredible people. I'm just a project guy, but they are the ones that really make a difference in these lives.
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Ward. Congratulations, and thank you for all of your hard work. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I'd like to share a little bonus with all of you at home today. For those of you who make a gift during this event of $100 or more, we will enter you into a drawing to win 20 copies, actually 20 of you will win one copy, it's probably going to work better that way, of our speaker's book, Paralyzed in Paradise. Our keynote speaker today is an inspiring and resilient and courageous survivor of domestic violence. Heather's ex-husband hired a man to kill her in 1997. He was not successful in this attempt, but the gunshot wound left Heather paralyzed from the neck down. Heather was just 31 years old with 3 young children. We are honored today to have the opportunity to hear her message and personally experience Heather as a thriving survivor of domestic violence. Ladies and gentlemen, Heather Grossman.
23 years ago, domestic violence forever changed my life and the lives of my family. My ex-husband, Ron Samuels, hired men to murder me. As the bullet penetrated my spinal cord, it shattered many hopes and dreams and my ability to function as I once did. I died at the scene of the crime, but luckily was brought back to life by a paramedic. As I felt my life slipping away, that my body shutting down, I knew that Ron Samuels was responsible. It's hard to believe, looking back now, that the man I married and had 3 wonderful children with would end up doing this to me. In the beginning of our relationship, it seemed wonderful and perfect, but it changed. Shortly after the birth of my first son, Ronnie. Although there were good times, throughout our marriage, Ron's behavior became controlling and scary. He had to know where I was going at all times, and if I did not answer my cell phone, I was going to be in trouble. He became degrading in the way that he spoke to me, and then he became physically abusive. He would throw hangers at me in plates of lasagna. He would physically take my body and throw it against the wall. I'm sorry, it's very cold in here. Could you turn the air down for me? Thank you. I felt like I was living my life on eggshells. I'm so sorry. Can I have my blanket? There. I was afraid that if I said something wrong or did something wrong, I would suffer the consequences. There were times that Ron would become so irate. Just the look in his eyes would terrify me. I'm so sorry, I'm just feeling so cold.
You need to go outside for a minute and warm up.
I can't. I'm gonna. My scarf is it down.
Yeah, it's down. You're good. Do you want to continue?
Yeah.
You all right?
Oh boy.
Okay, I feel like we should.
It's getting better. It's just that there were times when Ron would promise he was sorry, and he would abuse me, and it kept happening again and again. But it did happen again, and no amount of him telling to buy or telling me it was going to stop or trying to buy me a lavish gift could make up for that horrible abuse I was experiencing. By the time I had my twins, Joseph and Lauren, our relationship was still rocky. There were good times and there were bad times. And Ron's behavior, it would not change. And the breaking point was when he held a gun to my head and he said he would kill me. We were fighting all the time. And I knew. I was so sad. And I knew that I did not want to live this life, and I did not want to bring my children up in it either. I decided to file for divorce. Our divorce lasted almost 2 years. Ron kept fighting and prolonging it. And that's because he didn't want it to happen. He would send me gifts, letters, and he would call me and beg me to come back to him. But I didn't go back to him because I was finally living a happy and normal life. That's because I was away from Ron's abuse. In Minnesota, my life was on track, and my children were very happy in school. Ron and I shared custody of the children, but I kept physical custody with me. I started to date again, and I met John Grossman, who I later married. There was a period of about 6 months that I finally had peace. Ron Samuels filed for custody of my children, and his games began. Kayla, can I have some water? Now, Ron saw this. John and I moved to Boca Raton, Florida with my children because he relocated his company. Ron saw this as a perfect opportunity to start harassing us continually. He had individuals and himself stalk our every move. Because of his financial status, he used the court to legally harass me. And when he couldn't get his way through the judge, he made false claims that John was abusing the kids. All of these claims were investigated, and the judge took away Ron's visitation rights and had him psychologically evaluated. Ron would not give up, though. We were receiving death threats. At night, I called the police and reported them. Ron was always in contempt of court. And we had a hearing in front of Judge Rasmussen. Ron and his attorney sat across the table from me and laughed at me when I told the judge we were $35,000 in child support and that we were getting death threats and that I feared that Ron was going to kill me. I pleaded for some relief from the judge, but he did not listen and took the case under advisement and did not rule that day. 8 days later, I was shot. I spent 5.5 months in the ICU and 6 months in a rehab hospital in Colorado. During that time, Ron Samuels was still yet not indicted. It took 7 months for a grand jury to indict him before the police could arrest him. He fled to Mexico. He was arrested a week later by the FBI and the Mexican police. He was caught with guns and 6 kilos of cocaine. He spent 5 years in a Mexican prison, and during this time, my family and I were in the witness protection program living in La Jolla, California. In 2000, John and I moved to Paradise Valley. During this time, John started abusing me in my wheelchair, along with my children. This was worse than Ron because I was the perfect victim. I could not leave, and I could not protect my children. John did not take what happened to me very well, and the abuse became terrible. I would be spit on. I would be punched in the chest. John smeared dog feces on my face. He took garbage and smeared garbage on my bed. And then he would take me away from my nurses, and I couldn't breathe, and he would refuse to suction me. If it wasn't for the assistance of my nurses and friends reporting the abuse to the authorities, I would have never been free from him. On June 8th of 2002, the police removed John Grossman from my home. I immediately filed for a protective order, and after 5 years of marriage, I filed for divorce. I was 35 years old at the time, and my parents moved to Arizona to be with my children and me. Today, I live a full and happy life. Yes, you can. And I dedicate my time to mentoring newly injured spinal cord patients, and public speaking. I speak out about domestic violence, educating others about the dangers, warning signs, and how to get help. I am a consultant to the Justice Department in Washington, D.C., and I speak at their conferences. I was Miss Wheelchair Arizona in 2007, and I worked on changing disability laws. In 2000, I started a nonprofit called Heather's Haven of Hope, and we assist domestic violence shelters with doctor care, dental care, psychological care, and any of their special requests. In 2008, I won an award from President Bush and my family, and I were presented it in the Oval Office, and it was a great honor. I feel that my wheelchair has shaped my life because I have achieved so much more than I would have ever had if this incident hadn't happened. My faith and love for my children gave me a reason to be so strong. Today, my children are doing very well. My son Ronnie just graduated with his second master's from Grand Canyon University. My son Joseph worked with Bill Montgomery for 4 years, and he is our county attorney. And then now he works with Governor Ducey and is a executive director running the prison system in Arizona. My daughter Lauren graduated from Pepperdine University with a degree in mass communications and marketing, and is working for Biogen Pharmaceuticals in Arizona. Although there is much that has changed in my life, I wake up every morning with a purpose and a list of things to accomplish. I could have chose to pity myself, but my inner strength and love for my children gave me a reason to live. It all begins with accountability. Unless you are willing to take absolute control of your life, things won't change. View every situation as an opportunity to learn and grow. Many of people's life failures are caused because people do not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. You have a choices. You can rely on your family to help you. You can rely on your friends to help you, and you can rely on domestic violence shelters to protect you and give you resources that will also help you break the chain of domestic violence to save your life and your children's lives. Please donate to Sojourner Center because you will literally save lives during this pandemic. Domestic violence calls for service are up 40%. Thank you for your time.
Heather, thank you so much for your story and your courage and being here today to help other people.
Thank
you.
you too.
As this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Sojourner Center is excited to participate in the Key to Strength campaign, an initiative to raise an additional $20,000 in funds for Sojourner Center during October. For each person who makes a $50 gift or greater through the Key to Strength campaign, you'll receive this memorable charity charm unisex key fob as a gift to remind you of the impact you've had on a survivor's life while she lived at the Sojourner Center. Arizona Facial Plastics is the proud sponsor of this effort, and all you have to do is go to the link at the bottom of this page to make the gift and receive your charity charm key fob. Thank you again, Heather, for your incredible story, and thank you, Arizona Facial Plastics, for helping with this event. Sojourner Center is long known as a low-barrier access domestic violence program. Jody Polanski, after founding Lost Our Home Pet Rescue, observed over and over the trauma of clients having to leave a pet behind with an abuser. So in 2015, Lost Our Home and Sojourner Center created the first pet companion shelter on a domestic violence shelter campus in Arizona. And we'd like to say that so far it is a perfect pairing. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Jody Polanski to talk about the 5 years of pet companion shelter collaboration and success.
Good morning. So honored to be here, and if I cry, I'm sorry. After seeing Heather's story, I'm still got my little tissue here and trying to get my composure again. So like I said, I'm very honored to be here and talk about something that I'm very passionate about that's making a difference in so many lives, human, but also furry and feathery and even scaly lives. 12 years ago, when I founded Lost Our Home, I knew that pets are many times a child's best friend and confidant. I know that many times a pet is the only unconditional love and companionship that some adults have. I knew that some pets, or all pets, are considered a real part of a family. But what I didn't know is that by saving pets, we can also save people. I had no idea that domestic violence abusers will use pets as pawn to control and keep their victims with them or get them to go back. I had no idea that 45% of domestic violence victims won't even leave their abuser for fear what will happen if their pet is left behind. And I had no idea that 85% of pets that are left behind with an abuser are either neglected, abused, or killed. It's 85%. When I did learn this, though, I knew Lost Our Home had to do something. We started with our 4-month temporary care program that cares for pets at our shelter or foster home, so a domestic violence victim could escape their abuser and go to a shelter or stay with a family member that wasn't able to have their pet. Then in 2014, I met the Sojourner CEO, and when she learned about the tie between pets and domestic violence, she knew Sojourner had to do something about it too. And we knew that together, both organizations could make a substantial difference. Thus, the Pet Companion Shelter was born. We took 9 months to build the program and the shelter, marrying the experienced staff of a domestic violence shelter and the experienced staff of a pet shelter, so that both the people and the pets' needs were fully met, helping everybody heal. The pet shelter was designed with comfort in mind for both too. The cats are free roaming during the day in a catified room with lots of perches and nooks and seating for people, and they have a screen and patio where they can get some fresh air. The dogs have 2 shady yards to run and play in, and a living room where families can hang out with their dog in an indoor, home-like environment. Over the years, we've heard many of the families say the pet shelter is their zen space at Sojourner. The program operations are so innovative that it's still used today as a model around the country. Lost Our Home Pet Rescue staff run the daily operations in conjunction with Sojourner. This provides help for families when caring for their pets at a time when their life is completely upside down and schedule is uncertain. And for most of them, the first week they're here, they're exhausted, and they finally feel safe enough to get a good night's sleep. Knowing there's someone early at the pet shelter and throughout the day to feed and care for their pet when needed gives them a big sense of relief. They're also relieved to know their pet can finally get the medical treatment they need, anything from a vaccine to an untreated injury. And they can work with behaviorists to help their dog heal from the trauma, and even have their dog go through the good canine citizen training so they can easier get into a rental when it's time to spread their wings and leave Sojourner. Professional pet shelter staff are there for them for anything they need that's pet related, including just having someone to listen to their pet stories. Because of the generous Sojourner supporters and the unwavering dedication of the staff at Sojourner and Lost Our Home, in the past 5 years, we have provided over 25,700 days of care for 299 pets. That includes 166 dogs, 110 cats, and 23 other types of pets like birds and fish and turtles, and even a very, very large goat. Now, these pets belong to 185 families with 161 children. That's a lot of people who may never have left their abuser had Sojourner not had the pet companion shelter. So next time that you're cuddling or kissing your pet, think about how much your pet means to you, and think about how Sojourner's here for all two-legged and four-legged family members. And today, please, please, please be generous, because there are a lot of lives, human and furry and feathery and scaly, that really need your support. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jody, and thank you to our Lost Our Home for 5 wonderful years and many more in the future. Now, please watch this impactful video to learn about Sojourner Center's work.
The beginning of our relationship was, I guess, what people would call normal. He'd open car doors. He was polite, never sent up any red flags for me. I finally thought that I'd found, my Mr. Right. It started slow. He was very critical. My weight was always an issue because I've always gone up and down. He would start throwing things. He's used golf clubs to hit at me. He chased me with guns. Just a lot of verbal and gaslighting, where he tried to make me think that I was crazy, basically. When I found out I was pregnant with my son, we had an incident with the box cutter where he cut me. The final was an incident with a machete, and that was the final point that I didn't care what it took. I was leaving. Then when we got the call that Sojourner had a spot, we went immediately and were able to get in. To bring the dogs with us meant everything, because that's our family. We've had them for 5 years, and it would have been like leaving a family member. We wouldn't have gone. I would have had to find another way, or we probably would have been staying in our vehicle longer. Living at Sojourner Center really has made my sons and I feel safe. We have the gates. You have to be acknowledged to come in. They don't let just anybody in, which for me is a big factor. And as is with a lot of ladies I do know here, that our abusers are still around. They have the cameras, they see who's coming in. I've actually forgotten to say my child was with me in the car, and because the camera's aimed when I go to the buzzer box, they say, "Who's in the car with you?" Which to me makes me feel even more safe, because they can see who's in the car to make sure we're safe. If I look at the person I was when I first came here to who I am now, it's amazing the support and the empowerment they've given me to be a better person, going from just wanting to cry, curl up, and not knowing what I was gonna do, to I'm in school, I have 2 months left of schooling, my boys are doing great. If I need anything as far as resources, I know I can reach out, and it doesn't matter staff-wise who I contact. If they don't know, they'll find someone who does. They've just made me feel good about myself. I've got my self-esteem back. I've got a goal. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you to the donors, because without people like you and your generous donations, domestic violence survivors and thrivers like me and the other ladies in the program wouldn't have the opportunities we have to lead a safe life away from the abuse.
When I think of Sojourner and transformation, I really look at it from many angles, but primarily I look at it from the victim, understanding we're helping transform her life and her children's life and her animals' lives. I love to go out and stroll around the campus, and there are many things that make my heart full of joy. One is I do love all the animals we have on our campus. I love going to pet the dogs and see the kitties and maybe the iguanas or the fish. What has been very interesting for me in my short time being here at Sojourner Center is there's always had a perception that the largest population I would see on campus are our women. But frankly, it's our children. More than half of our participants here are children. And for me, that was even more heart-lifting, because if we can help those innocent children have a great future, then we've set them up for success. And helping them get out of those situations and living through that, whether they were the victim or they witnessed the abuse, they need to get out and they need to have a chance, and we're giving them that chance. I've always admired Sojourner Center and their ability to really reach out into the community and help those most in need, spreading the word that help is available. And if you're in crisis and you need a place to go, Sojourner's that place. Together We Thrive, I think, is a way of all of us understanding there is no one person that can make change. We have to collectively come together to understand the needs of our community, the needs of the victims of abusers. How do we make their lives better? And all we want to do is not just help them survive, but we really want them to thrive. And we have the tools here, but we need everybody's support to make that happen.
When I think of thriving, I actually think of input and output. And I think about, as an organization, we have to be able to have the resources, the programming, everything needed for victims to be able to tap into those resources in order for them to tap into their resilience. And once those are connected, that is when we see individuals thrive. I've worked here for many years and I've seen many changes, but one thing that's never changed is us listening to the victims that we serve. And so even through change, even through shifts in funding, we've continued to push through. And I think that is something that we've learned from the participants that we serve, but it's also something that sets us apart, is because we just won't ever give up. I always enjoy walking by our playgrounds because we get to see children playing, and especially during the holiday season. I'll never forget this time a little boy came running up to me because we had been doing door decorating. And he came running up to me, Miss Julie, Miss Julie, Miss Julie, you've got to come see our door. Look at the door to my house. And that moment will always stick with me because it was also him saying his house, and he said it with pride. And it was just a great reminder that our shelter is a shelter, but it's also a home. And that's just a moment that will always stick with me. Unfortunately, domestic violence, particularly in our area, continues to increase. And I know firsthand from listening to the crisis line to looking at our beds and shelter is there's still not enough, and there are still victims who need our services, and we have so much more work to do.
Thank you so much, Cindy and Julie, for that incredible video, and to Cheryl for being vulnerable and sharing your story with all of us. Also, thank you to Jaybird Media for producing that video. And now, please welcome back Mr. Stuart Lazar.
Well, that was a thriving video. And Cheryl, thank you for your sharing your story and your incredible courage. People ask me why 3 decades I've been dedicated to domestic violence at Sojourner Center. You are the reason that I do this. Thank you. Thank you, Jaybird Media, for directing and producing this impactful program video. For those who missed my opening act, my name is Stuart Lazar. I've been a long-time ambassador, emeritus board member, and 29-year supporter of Sojourner Center. I pride myself as being the bridge from the past to the future of leadership at Sojourner Center. The pandemic has changed all of our lives. Zoom now takes on a different meaning. As a result, for the first time, we're being joined by many who are outside of Arizona. I want to welcome our family and friends in California, friends in Philly, New York, Miami, Alabama. Good evening to England and Switzerland friends, as well as all the guests from Sojourner family around the parts of the country taking your time with us. Sojourner Center, where magic is performed by angels, AKA our staff who work 24/7, 365, helping transform victims to survivors of domestic violence. 16 years ago, I became a better man when I met Chu, AKA my beautiful wife of 14 years. Soon after moving from California, Chu embraced Sojourner as well, organizing donation drives for basic everyday needs. In addition, Chu embraced the role of ambassador, and together we initiated tours of Sojourner to anyone that came in our path. Serving as ambassadors together certainly strengthened us as a couple. I have a trademark expression: giving is receiving. I was fortunate to be raised in a family of love and support. In fact, this is the first annual Sojourner event since 2010 that either my mom or dad has attended. In January, Mom passed at 97, and Dad passed 5 years ago at 96. I was taught early on that a man should never lay a hand on a woman, and thought that was a universal rule. I never knew something like domestic violence existed. I'm often asked how I got involved with Sojourner Center. In 1991, I was asked by a friend to help secure celebrity items for a golf tournament. At that time, I had no idea what Sojourner was, domestic violence was, but out of friendship agreed to help. As a result of volunteering, I developed a close friendship with Jamie Brody. Jamie was a selfless soul, had a way of asking for things through his compassionate smile that people could not say no to. If he was asking, then they were helping. Unfortunately, in 2004, Jamie passed away way too soon at the age of 46. His inspiration was the model for my dedication to Sojourner Center. Post-tournament, Jamie asked me to meet him downtown to tour Sojourner's humble beginning, a small rundown house on 4th Avenue. Upon arrival, I met the staff. And as it was 106 in Phoenix that day, I went to the kitchen to get a bottle of water from the refrigerator. And as I'm at the refrigerator, all of a sudden, I feel two little ones grabbing at my legs. I looked down at these two innocent faces who did not deserve to be in a shelter. It's no way to grow up. But it was then and there that Sojourner Center had won a piece of my heart. Little did I know just how big a piece of my heart it had captured. There has been many friendships that have come from working side by side with dedicated individuals. Earlier I mentioned being honored with Elaine Waxman, AKA a Sojourner groupie. And of course today's award recipient and my friend, Ward Simpson. A few more people I'd like to acknowledge. Shari Capri, an attorney who 43 years ago with two other women were one of the 3 founding members of Sojourner Center. Connie Phillips, an angel who served 18 years as executive director and the driving force to acquiring the land we stand on in a less desirable part of Phoenix at the time and building a secure campus encompassing a half a city block with capacity for 240 women and children and pets. Dave Franke, who began his 28-year association serving on the board with 3 stints as board president. His stable leadership helped us navigate some very challenging times, including the agreement with Jewish Family Children's Services and their stabilizing influence. I want to say thank you to those of you that have included Sojourner Center in your tzedakah, which is Hebrew for charity, as a result of Chew and my passion. Thus, together we thrive. I'm a man of tradition, so each year on Stuart Lazar Day, aka my birthday, I bring cupcakes and hand them out at dinner to the women and their children. It's amazing how much joy and smiles a single cupcake can make, and how much joy I get. I also hear about the unpleasant side. Often the women leaving their abusive environment with sometimes as little as 20 minutes to throw some possessions in a backpack or even a trash bag, while their abuser goes to the store to get beer. A poignant moment for me was when Martina asked if she could talk with me. I said, sure. She shared with me that while showering, her thoughts turned to amazement that there was a Sojourner Center that provided the water and the 5 outfits that she was given, which enabled her to interview for a job, or the warm meals she ate each day. And last, but most important, the secure environment where she and the kids could actually sleep through the night without fear her abuser would strike again. All this at no cost. Most of us are blessed that we don't know from this life. But caring individuals like you allow the Martinas of the world to believe in miracles and are so appreciative by the goodness of the community. After spending time with the families, I leave with a birthday gift that money can't buy. Giving is truly receiving. We continue to be inspired by the families who work so hard to transform their lives. One of the greatest lessons we've learned over the years is that we don't do this work alone. It takes all of us to overcome the impact of domestic violence. It makes the theme of this event, Together We Thrive, more relevant than ever. Thank you to all of you who invited your friends, colleagues, and family to spend their time with us today. You've heard inspiring stories, let alone Heather's amazing story of survival and determination. And if that doesn't give you inspiration for us to continue our work, nothing will. You've seen the impact of Sojourner Center's work. Now, normally would be the time we'd ask table hosts to hand out pledge forms. And thank you, table hosts, who've invited your friends. Since we're virtual, if you could share, receive your email or mail, and take out the form. And today it truly is my privilege and responsibility to ask you to make a financial investment to support our day-to-day operations. It takes more than love to keep this going. If you have been moved by what you've seen today and would like to support the ongoing needs of Sojourner Center, I invite you to join Chew and me as members of the Sojourner Truth Society. I was looking for my prop. But we have a wonderful Sojourner mask for these pandemic times that you will receive. It's on the form on the top right. For those of you who prefer to give it a different level, you can fill that information out to the left of the purple box. For Arizona residents, your gift to Sojourner qualifies for the AZ Assistance for the Needy credit, tax credit. This is a dollar-for-dollar credit, which reduces your Arizona tax credit, $800 for couples, $400 for individuals. Once again, giving is receiving. You also can get involved in different ways. There's a place to indicate that as well. For all of you contributing today, please fill out the entire form so we can say thank you and appropriately share updates. You can also go to sojourner.org to make an online gift. Whatever you've given today, including the gift of your time and attention, thank you on behalf of the families we serve. We sincerely appreciate your investment in Sojourner Center. Now I'm happy and thank you, Ramsey, for doing an incredible Master of Ceremonies job today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stuart, and thank you to everyone who presented today and shared their stories and their time and effort. On the behalf of the families living here at the Sojourner Center today, yesterday, and tomorrow, we thank you for spending your time and energy here with us as well. We also extend heartfelt thanks to Heather Grossman, author of Paralyzed in Paradise, which is available on Amazon, to Cindy, the Executive Director of the Sojourner Center, Cheryl, the courageous and thriving survivor at Sojourner Center, for appearing in the video and sharing her story as well, Stuart Lazar for presenting the Lifetime Ambassador Award, Ward Simpson for many years of exemplary service, and Jody Polinsky of Lost Our Home Pet Rescue. Thank you all for a very fun, interesting, and inspiring experience. Your help is needed now more than ever. As again, it was mentioned earlier, 40% increase in domestic violence calls, and anything that you can do would be of great help to everyone here. Thank you so much, and if one of Sojourner Center's leaders has said for years, you're blessed and released, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.